You're breathtaking. What screams I'm very insecure, constantly wedging humble bragging into conversations. My friend Jerry Seinfeld and I were just talking about this the other day. Automatically assuming negative intent. Egg, your friend didn't pick your call. Frick her, she's trying to avoid me. I don't care about her anyway. Had a friend who, while I took a nap, texted me. I noticed you didn't share your chocolate bar with me at lunch. Are you mad at me? Are we even friend anymore? 2 hours later, I guess I have my answer. This is a self-roast, but I think I degrade myself just to hear others deny it. Is that insecure? I do this and I definitely think it comes from a desire to get ahead of it, like, if I put myself down first, then how badly can it hurt if someone agrees? It's created a cycle of almost compulsive negative self-talk that I'm trying to deprogram. Trying to dominate conversations, not to be confused with just being a charismatic person. I know a guy who will talk forever, on and on about something that may or may not be interesting to anyone but him in the first place. If anyone has something else to say that leads to a small tangent or participation of other people in the room, he becomes visibly annoyed and will bring it back with an anyway at the earliest opportunity and continue ranting. I don't like him. Edit. A lot of people are saying that they feel like they are this person. Just to clarify, it's not just the fact that he talks a lot and tends to be ranty that annoys me. Some people just have very active brains, and sort of runaway thought patterns, if you will, and I get that. It's the fact that he seems offended that anyone would dare steal his conversation spotlight and want to participate that screams insecurity. When people have and insist on constantly checking on their phone via some tracking app on their phone, it's one thing to have it and use it in case of emergency, but using it while out with your friends to make sure he's actually at work is creepy and super insecure. I've found that a lot of people on Twitter that feel the need to post about how great of a person they are and they have nothing but good intentions are usually the most toxic people I've seen. It's like they are trying to convince themselves. I also notice that the things they write about themselves are the kind of things you should let other people say about you. It's just tacky. People who automatically assume that if you disagree with them, you must have a subjective, personal reason to do so, if possible even related to your own insecurities. Simply not true. As an insecure person, I find it hard to look people in the eyes. I also find it hard to tell any stories about myself, because I'm afraid people will think I'm lying, or that I won't be part of the group because of personal differences. I always think everyone is better than me. I can see all the good in everybody, but I know that they see all the bad in me. Insecure people stand in the corner and don't join the group. I feel you, friend. There's something about eye contact and conversing where if I'm saying something I'll worry, shoot, do they think I'm lying? Wait, what if I am lying? And then obsess over the criteria that meets the situation. Example, I love cookies, but wait, do I like cookies more than other people? I don't eat them that often, so can I really say I love them? A silly little example, but my ability to rationalize needs a little help. All those people who post on Facebook those quotes that are like, don't worry about those who talk behind your back, they're behind you for a reason, or they tag themselves into any and every place including the docs/hospital/somewhere personal. Then when someone asks if they are okay, they reply with, don't ask hunzox. So basically, people who live their lives through very active social medias, I suppose I'm trying to say. I've always thought the hospital thing especially weird. Also weird, I have symptom of something which may require an ER or urgent care visit. What should I do? Maybe go to the ER or urgent care. These are people with health insurance, mind you. I can see posting to see if anyone else has had X symptom or condition, or what questions to ask your doctor. Clicking on this post to see if any of the top comments are things you do. It's nice to confirm I'm not a total piece of shit. If I am, how can I improve as a person? Women that guard their men like a soldier. I was leaving an abusive relationship. My friend offered me a place to stay. The hitch was if she wasn't there and just her husband was, I had to leave. I got a hotel room, not dealing with that. I had a co-worker, 20, who used to stay with her aunt because her parents wanted to travel for a year. She wanted to leave so bad because the aunt did not want her home if only the husband was home. The most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. People who always have to one-up you in everything. If you tell a story, they have a better one. If you buy something expensive, they have to be something even more expensive. Some people's whole life is trying to win some non-existent competition. Those are the same type of people who go $75,000 into debt just to impress the neighbors who don't give a shit anyways. My brother and I hung out with a guy for a while who was the absolutely king of one-upping people. It got to the point where we would make up slightly unbelievable stories to see how he would one-up them. Here's some of the gems he presented us. His father competed in an underground street fighting league with a titanium leg. He once watched a man get hit in the face with a severed penis, and he shot a metal target 100 yards away, blindfolded. Judging its location from the sound of someone else shooting the target, clarification on the flying dick. So, he claimed to have been an EMT for a year, which didn't seem possible with the timeline of his life. but that's beside the point, and he drew a lot of his stories from his EMT days. One day, he says, he's working with the guy who's been an EMT for 30 years. They get a call about some domestic violence, so they head to the house where the police are already inside. Our friend says he stepped into the house ahead of the veteran EMT, and he was greeted by a screaming woman waving a severed penis at the two police officers already inside. As soon as she saw him, she hurled the cock right at his head, and he ducked out of the way. The airborne penis flew through the threshold of the door, striking his EMT partner in the face. The man looked down at the bloody dick on the ground, looked up at a friend, the police, and the still screaming woman, threw up his hands and yelled, "That's it, I freaking quit," and turned around and walked off. He said he never saw him again. "Oh, you went to Tenerife?" "Well, I went to Tenerife." I deal with insecure mums a lot, either at the playground or mommy groups. They are insecure about what milestones their child is hitting and how they are doing as a mother. One of the biggest tells is when they brag about something that's clearly a lie, or even a partial truth. My 3-year-old is reading at a first grade level. Okay, but he's eating grass right now and just pooped himself. You see it a lot on social media now. My 20-month-old is potty trained. Having several accidents a day and needing a diaper whenever she sleeps is not potty trained. Yeah, mums are pretty judgy and many mommy groups are toxic, but most of can tell when you're lying and it screams insecure. I have a niece and nephew that are a month apart, and Jesus Christ, the competition is real. Like, how can you be mad that your nephew has more teeth than your kid? Who freaking cares? I understand being a proud parent, but those milestones are meaningless. My mum loves to tell a story about me as a less than 1-year-old being at the doctor and saying, "Hold me," before I got a shot, and the doctor being flabbergasted that I could communicate at that age. Like, the story made me some of baby genius. She tells that story more than any actual accomplishment I've ever had. I grew up to be a very normal and not genius adult. Your kid doing something early doesn't mean he's about to be the next Einstein. Just not shutting up about yourself, constantly lifting yourself up and comparing yourself to others, while pushing them down. Also, constantly putting yourself down and comparing yourself to others. When you question yourself, do they actually like me or are they pretending to? Or when you think you're gonna bother other people if you talk to them. Edit. Jesus Christ. I wasn't expecting so many replies. I hope you all are doing great. In college I had a friend who seemed to believe that everyone in our friend group was just pretending to like him or just tolerating him. He seemed to believe this because occasionally he would pick up on subtle signs of irritation towards him. What he didn't understand is that even if you are good friends with everyone in a group, that doesn't mean that no one in the group will find you annoying from time to time. Just for him. One day I pulled him aside and got out a pen and paper. I created what I called the tilt web. I wrote everyone in this friend group's name on the paper, forming a circle of names. Then I proceeded to draw arrows between names. I said each arrow represents that the person who the arrow is pointing to is sometimes slightly annoyed by the person the arrow is drawn from. All 10 people on the group except one had at least one arrow to end at least one arrow from them. The problem with this kind of insecurity is that they won't believe someone if they are simply told that they are fine. They understand that if someone doesn't really care about them, it's still a lot easier to tell them that they are fine, even if they aren't. Now that we have both graduated, he mentioned that he hasn't forgotten me drawing that web and that it was a lot more meaningful to him than me just telling him that he is fine. I'm in this post and I don't like it. People whose self-esteem is so low that they can't stand the sight of people with high self-esteem, so they will try to break down anyone they perceive as more successful than them. When a group of this type of people comes together, a major crab bucket mentality arises and they will target people perceived as highly competent or successful for bullying, gossip, false rumors, and other things that should have been wiped out after elementary school. If you just described one of my co-workers, so glad she transferred to another department. I used to be very insecure, so I'll go from my own experience. Lying about something to seem cool. It's very obviously a signal of insecurity because they don't like who they are now. I have a brother who does this. He's so insecure about whether people see him as an idiot that he's getting his PhD so he can officially be the smartest person in the room wherever he goes. Almost verbatim. Dude lies pathologically about the dumbest shit. I used to be this way. I got it from my mother. It evolved into pathological lying, where I would get so invested in a lie that I would eventually end up believing it and it would become my reality. In hindsight, that shit is horrifying. It's a serious mental disorder. A decade of therapy later, I snapped out of it and realized that I was acting like a freaking wet wipe on a regular basis and cut that shit out. Imagine lying about being insecure. PFFFF/S. Bragging about things not even in your control, like your parents' wealth. Even worse, I have a friend who likes to brag to girls at the bar about how successful our other friend is because his parents have a successful business that he is taking over. Super cringy. Man, I brag about my depression all the time. Oftentimes, people don't know the difference between telling it like it is and just being flat out mean. People who tell it like it is only give their opinion when it is warranted because they would want someone to tell them the truth instead of dancing around it. However, some can cross this line and just be straight up rude, while using this same reasoning. Those who tell it like it is secure. Those who are unnecessarily mean are insecure. Not exactly a direct answer to your question, but I've always thought this and wanted to share. Edit. Thank you for silver smiley face. Interestingly enough, many people who tell it like it is don't like it when others do the same to them. Smiley face. People who feel the need to judge everyone in a negative light and who only want to see the worst in others so they can feel better about themselves. It just shows how unhappy they truly are. Ironically, people like this also feel like they are judged unfairly and constantly by the world. One-upping people constantly in conversations, or bragging about how much better you can do something than others can, which is a much better comment than yours was. Seen. Gets a notification on phone. XGF. Who's chatting to you now? Me? It's a game notification. Me? Goes to shower. Me? Comes back to find girlfriend going through every message, email and WhatsApp. Does that scream I'm insecure? Edit 1. Thanks for the responses. I got out of that relationship last year and I'm dating someone of a far better mind and someone who trusts me. Edit 2. I coded my phone, she figured it out, then I used my fingerprint. Edit 3. My ex was very insecure and would often follow and check my every move. Edit 4. I will respond as best I can. Does that scream I'm insecure? Among other things. Glad you said exy because that shit should not be tolerated. Being unnecessarily mean-spirited to people. Had a guy threatening to kick the shit out of me if I told anyone he was dyslexic. Joint Facebook profiles. Don't you bring my grandpa and grandma into this. BF. Alright, I'm going to work, babe. GF. You better not be fricking with bitches at work. Funny story. A few years ago my husband and I were sharing a car. One day I noticed a note under the windshield wiper that said something like "You're cute. Call or text me. Phone number." We thought it was funny that we didn't know who the note was intended for since we had both been driving the car. My Bill's, now ex-girlfriend, heard us talking about it and said, if I ever found a note like that on Bill's car, I'd be so pissed. I'd probably call her and cuss her out. Okay, yay, totally reasonable reaction. That's like screaming I'm the one cheating. I bought a mattress the other day and the salesman had a chin strap and blue flames tattooed up his arms. When I finished checking out, he came up behind my mum and I and said, very seriously, just so you know, people call me firearms. Later that same day, my dad and I were in the parking lot at Lowe's and a guy with spiked hair pulled into the parking lot in a convertible blasting Crazy Bitch by Buck Cherry. I like to think he and firearms were separated at birth. Edit. I am from the Jersey Shore. While I think that should clarify some things, this is douchey behavior even for here. Posting what you're up to every day on social media, or the vague "Ugh, I'm so upset right now" status where they are praying that someone asks what's wrong. If you want to say what's bothering you, do it. Don't clickbait your own status. Incapable of self-reflection. To be fair, self-reflection is where most my insecurities come from, because they're vampires. When you're reading an AskReddit thread to make sure you're not making it too obvious. Just calling me out. Windows XP. Using your internal fear as a reason not to do something. Hate your job. You don't apply for any others because you're scared of being rejected, or that you don't deserve a better job. In a terrible relationship, you stay because you're scared of being alone. That kind of insecurity is the worst in my opinion because it affects nearly everyone. The more you talk about how good you are in bed and how many women you've freaked, the less I believe you. I am terrible in bed and have freaked a grand total of 0 women. I came here to find out what I need to stop doing. I only get along with guys. Other girls hate me. Face with tears of joy, cross-eyed grinning face with stuck-out tongue. All girls are drama. Yeah, no, I'm not mathematician here, but even I can see a common denominator. I had a coworker who claimed she always found working with men easier. She would listen to and respect the decisions of the guys but tended to talk down to me, a woman, a lot. Other girls came onto the team actually requested to move, they found her so difficult to work with. A password made up on only lowercase letters. Correct Thorsabateristopol. Can't handle being told they're wrong or ignorant about something. They are. Banning Winnie the Pooh because someone said you looked like him. My first thought. A huge lifted truck without any discernible work purpose being extremely aggressive in traffic. Truck nuts. I want to get a big truck and put those eyelashes on the front headlights and then the nuts on the back. Really make people question their trucktionality.
Please subscribe if you liked the video. It really helps the channel to grow. Adios.